one podcast, mining the Magic the Gathering community for salt. This is the Howling Salt Mine.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine podcast, the podcast where we delve into those salty, salty mines of the Magic the Gathering community, find the salty stories, the saltiest posts that we love, put them in our minecart, and bring them right back up to you, our dear prospectors at home. As always, I'm your host, Sam, and I'm joined today by my two lovely co-hosts, Tony and Mike. Say hey, guys.
What up, what up, what up?
Howdy.
Howdy indeed. And before we go any further, you know we got to shout them out. Our nice tier patrons. And this week we have Alex Ballix, Crean Bean, Prime Speaker Florian, Dr. Black, Accidental TPK, and ZZ. Thanks for being so nice, y'all.
Nice.
Thank you.
We're coming at you again live from the curtain room.
It's not live, though.
Well, we're live.
We are alive.
We are alive.
We're
in this
live
room and
together.
recording.
But,
Yeah.
but the episode isn't
the
live.
episode is not live.
But if you do want to hear us live,
This might be out by the time that happens. Or this might come out after Vegas, but yeah.
we may have just done a live show.
Yeah.
We've got a slot to do a live episode at Vegas, and that may have happened already. And if it did, nice. Hope it was great.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
If it didn't,
If it didn't, we better see you there.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you missed it, hey, that sucks, you know? I did put an announcement in the podcast stream, so you should have heard it.
Yeah.
But hey, some people don't listen to those.
Yeah.
What can you do?
What can you do?
What can you do?
Well, we are recording in person, I guess I should say. Because
Yep.
it's not live, but we're recording in person.
Yeah.
In the,
That was the whole thing.
in the spare room, you know? We got a million curtains up today to see if it helps.
It
Yeah.
helps with the reverb.
It helps with the reverb.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's definitely like, I think you were calling it like a pillow fort in the last episode.
It's good.
You know? We got our propaganda up. We're pillow forting right now.
Yeah.
All about it.
The Pillow Fort makes me feel like I'm ready to watch some Bake Off.
Oh, Bake Off.
The new season is out.
I know.
You can't
It's 2
talk about
episodes.
any of it yet.
We can.
We're
no, you
going
can't.
to.
I'm going to fucking watch it.
You haven't watched it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You should have. It's
What
been
a-
out for 2 whole weeks. What have
what a
you been
lose.
doing, Tony?
I wasn't in this country.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
Were there any baked goods in whatever country you were in?
There were, actually.
Well, dish sister.
Was there any cake?
Well, firstly,
Hey, wherever Tony goes, he's bringing some cake. You
I'm
know what
always
saying?
saying, yeah.
Was there any?
I know what you're just saying. This is some cake.
What did we say a couple episodes ago? Lightly played in the front, heavily played in the back. LP in the front, HP in the back.
Oh, God.
Damaged.
But yeah, I went to Lisbon, Portugal, and Marrakesh, Morocco.
Wow.
It was pretty fucking sick.
What were you doing there? Just for fun? Just for funsies?
Funsies, baby. A little life trip. Me, myself, and I. Going out there, doing the thing.
Hell yeah.
Feeling the vibes and living my life.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah, it was like a good time. And funnily enough, shout out to Beat, who messaged me randomly while I was there. And I sent him a picture of like me and a wall. I don't even know what the fuck wall it was. And I was like, if you can identify where I am right now, Carmen Sandiego, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego style? Like, I'll buy you a beer at Vegas. And fucking, I should have known to message you two fucks immediately and be like, do not tell Pete where I am. Because within like 20 minutes, he messaged me back and he's like, I think you're in Lisbon. I was like, you fucker. Like, who
Yeah.
told you?
Shout out to our patron Beat Farm. I definitely told him. He messaged me on the side and he was like, if I guess right, Tony has to buy me a beer. And I was like, all right, man, here you go. And here's some of Tony's personal information.
Yeah, no, while we're at it, you know, this is likely the place where he's staying while he's there. Social security number, passport, all the things you would need.
Oh,
to
man.
fully, you know,
Fully
invade
take
this
over
life.
his identity.
Yeah.
Did you get any cards while you were abroad?
No,
Ooh,
but
good
I
question.
did look.
Yeah.
I was trying to find. So in Marrakesh, there was not
A game store.
a game store. In Lisbon, I think there were some, but they were like far away. Like I was staying close to the like historic-y district that is, you know, where the tourist souls are like going and stuff. And like I saw some things, but they were like way the fuck out in other places in Lisbon. So I wanted to do that because I wanted to go see if I could pick up like fucking cheap Mox Diamond or something. Literally, I was like,
Watch out with those. That might get banned.
I know, they're fucking Christ. But I was funny because I was talking to Mike just before I left about how funny it would kind of be to like go to like an LGS somewhere out there, pick up a bunch of gas for cheap, like Lion's Eye Diamond, all these kinds of things, but then has to claim it coming back into the country. Like,
you're like, are you bringing $10,000
worth of goods?
Well, it was when I bought it, but then the Mana Crypt got banned.
Yeah.
The customs agent is like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Can you imagine? That was the thing too. For me, the ban happened like when I was there, and I found out. Oh, also, other thing that I have to talk about for 2 seconds is I got an altar from Sonia MTG Altars.
Oh yeah, Sonia fucking rules.
And she's great. Working with her was awesome. She was like super nice. She just like had an opening slot that she posted on Instagram. And I was like, can I take that?
Give me
I have
that.
no idea what I want. I don't know anything, but I'll like pay you money and I will like get an altar. And she was like, yeah, don't even worry about it. Like you can take your time thinking about it. Like the backlog is here. Like as long as you want a thing, like put in money for a deposit and then go.
Yeah.
So she made me an Ashitaka from Princess Mononoke Obnixilis altar that is fucking dope. I got it in person. It's so good.
It's sick.
Honestly so fucking good.
What made you pick Prince Ashitaka for that?
Ashitaka.
So
Because Obnixilis is like the least Ashitaka person.
well, so the reason
He has no honor.
like for me, honestly, I just like that character a lot.
Yeah,
and
I
like
feel that.
it was more about just having like dope art on the card than like having something that was super like translatable. I kind of wanted it to be, but I didn't care that much about it.
Yeah.
The thing that I originally wanted was at the beginning of that movie, Nago, the boar that like kind of kicks everything
yeah,
off,
dude.
is like dead and like flesh melts away in a field, and I wanted to use that as my slaughter pact.
Oh, that'd be fucking sick.
Super fucking cool. But
Yeah.
like when I was trying to work with Sonia, this was one of the things that was great about her. She was just like, this is a sick idea, but like the scale and how everything's going to work, it's just not going to look that good on a card. And I was like, bummer, but okay, heard. And so like
Good to have that vision to check.
I didn't even run Feed the Swarm in Obnixilis, but I was thinking about putting it in
that would be fun
so that I could do
too.
Feed the Swarm, but do the scene where the parents from Spirited Away get turned into the pigs.
Oh man, yeah.
So that was the other one I wanted to do, but I was like, I don't run this fucking card.
Curse of Swine. Someone should get a Curse of Swine with that.
That would be fucking sick. And it was also one of the first times that I thought about just like doing that, just like getting a card that I don't fucking play that she just like does art on, and that's where I'm going down a dangerous fucking path.
Oh, yeah.
It's not cheap, but it was totally worth it. Her card was fucking dope. But the way I found out about
very
the bans
talented.
is she messaged me and was like, Obnixilis should have arrived just in time for the bans, unfortunately. I hope you could still play it. And I was like, bans? What the fuck are you talking about? And I went to the internet and I was like, what? I was so upset. But
Oh
anyway,
man, that's so funny, dude. I hit up Sonia after she posted your art. She and I were talking a little bit, and I'm gonna get I'm gonna get a Princess Mononoke Spirit of the Forest as Marath, which is like basically who Marath is already is the Spirit of the Forest.
Yeah, it'll be fucking dope.
Like if you look at the Marath art, Marath has plants
but-
growing up everywhere it steps.
Pre-head cutoff. Not
Yeah,
when
pre-head
that
Whoa,
night.
spoilers.
Pre-head cutoff for sure. Yeah, this episode
just
does
the head.
contain Princess Mononoke spoilers.
I know we just touched on Tony's ban opinions. If you want to hear more of those, we have a whole episode on our ban opinions and stuff in our extra salt that you could get if you signed up for our
Behind that
Patreon.
paywall, baby.
Yeah, we talk about the RC thing and all that kind of stuff. We figured the main feed was saturated enough with that you know, if you really want to hear what we have to say there, jump on in, get into the mines. Patreon.com/HowlingSaltMine.
Speaking of getting into the mines, should we delve into a story?
Should we do that?
You know what? Let's do it because we've lollygagged a lot today.
I have not.
Wow. Okay, mister, let me talk about Lotho for
I have
another 10
not
minutes.
gagged on any lolly today.
But yeah, you know what? Let's jump into the mine. You know, we got a bunch of salty stories here, and we got to rip right into them.
Well, wait, Sam,
Yes, Tony?
what is salt?
Excellent question, Tony, and thank you for asking. Salt is frustration in the game, as we like to say. It's really an umbrella term here in the Howling Salt Mine, how we like to use it. It's anything that's going to get you frustrated, pissed off, sulky, you know, just feeling a little bit negative in a game of Magic the Gathering. It could be somebody pub stomping you. It could be bad vibes. It could be a card got banned and messed up your favorite deck. There's a bunch of different things that can get you salty when you're playing Magic, whatever format you're playing. And on this show, we talk about salt so that we can learn from it and hopefully not be salty in a future game of Magic.
Bingo, bango, bongo.
As we like to say, it's an edumagicational podcast.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
When we get to 100,000 subscribers, do we tattoo that like on our foreheads?
Yeah, when we get to 100,000 subscribers, we will tattoo edumagicational on our foreheads. Mike is nodding.
Yeah. He
All
said
right.
yes already. It's canon.
Yeah.
This is not why I
And that was a
encouraged us
sigh
to
of
upload everything to YouTube.
All right, let's open up the mailbag, see what's inside. We've been pulling stories randomly lately, as folks know. And something that I've really been enjoying lately is searching for a random word and seeing what stories pop up as a way to sort through our giant email list.
Agent.
Agent? All right. I like where your head is
This
at.
fucking asshole.
Could go a couple different ways.
Agent of treachery?
Opposition agent.
Well, I know that one.
All right, I got one here.
Or an agent of chaos.
Oh, man. Not only is this an excellent story that we just pulled, this is a Reddit post.
Oh, baby. I just know.
This is a Reddit post that the OP of the Reddit post submitted it to us through our website. Doing the God's work out there, baby.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing. You know, I know at the start of the new year, we were like, hey, every episode's going to do some Reddit stuff. We're going to do more Reddit posts. Man, Reddit posts it's a lot of work for us to get Reddit posts. Let me just tell you, it's a lot of work to clear them. And when we're already sitting on 300 plus salty stories, I'm just going to reach down into that pile I'm sitting on and pull out a story. Anywho, so this one comes to us from our buddy Kiyoshi, and the post is titled Opposition Agent in CDH.
Nice. Where it belongs, at least.
True.
There's a brief message
Little
from
preamble.
Kiyoshi here before we jump into the actual Reddit post. It says, I am the OP. This happened this past weekend. Got told about your podcast. Enjoy the salt. I don't feel bad about my actions at all. That's a fucking amazing start.
Yeah.
That is an amazing start. So this one comes to us from our buddy Kiyoshi. As we said, they didn't tell me their Reddit username, so I'm not going to share it. I feel weird about being like, they said their name's Kiyoshi, and here's their Reddit username. This post is titled, Played a game on Tellurian Community last night, power level 8, and man, it got salty. And the story goes, late night, around midnight EST, I got on and saw a looking for group post, power level 8. Not CDH, but strong was the description. I recently rebuilt Muldrotha to be Staxy, and it's been high power, so I joined. It's me as Muldrotha. The guy who wanted to play power level 8 is running Necrobloom. Then there's a Prismatic Bridge player, and the last guy is Koram. What is Koram? Hold on, pause. Oh, Koram, the Undertaker. This is a newer card.
Oh, yeah.
It costs 1, a black, a red, and a green. Legendary creature, human warrior, a 0/5. Koram the Undertaker gets +X/+0, where X is the greatest power among creature cards in all graveyards. Whenever Koram attacks, each player mills a card. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a spell from among cards in graveyards that were put there from libraries this turn. So during your turn, you can play a land and cast a spell from among cards put into all graveyards that were put there from libraries this turn. That's pretty dope.
It's cool. It's sort of like a wacky little Jund Paco almost.
Yeah, and a little Muldrotha-y as well, to some extent. I know that our patron, President Ketchup, was like obsessed with this list and was trying to break it for CDH and high power.
I think I had some issues with it though.
Yeah, I know it's a little weird at CDH level. Okay, I'm third in the game. Necrobloom first, then Koram, then me, then Prismatic Bridge. Turn 1 tap land for the first 2 guys. I played an Underground Sea and cast a Mystic Remora. The Prismatic Bridge calls my deck CDH. I tell him it's not. It's a high power deck. I'm still not winning in 3 turns. They feed my fish. On turn 2, I cast a Mox Diamond and discard a Cabal Coffers. I draw 5 cards with Mystic Remora. On the end of Quorum's turn 2, I vamp tutor for opposition agent. Draw and play a land and then let the Remora die. The bridge player plays a fetch and doesn't crack it. Necrobloom player goes to turn 4. He casts Nature's Lore. I respond with opposition agent. He then scoops. The prismatic bridge player scoops. Both tell me to get the fuck out and that the CDH stuff. And he's never seen an opposition agent in an 8 game. I disagreed and said I'm not leaving and I'm playing it out. I asked the Quorum player if he wants to call it, and he said he's good and we can continue. We agreed that Necrobloom conceded, so it's his turn. I tried to explain to the Necrobloom player, but I don't think he realizes what he's asking for when he wants a high-power 8 game. Even without the numbers, it's not a mid-game. Necrobloom leaves, and so does the Prismatic player. Quorum and me play a 2-hour game, and it's a banger. He told me turn 3 I had 2 lands and a Mox Diamond, and my board wasn't scary, and they all fed the fish. He dropped me to 2 life, I came back and won, and we parted ways saying GG. I asked Necrobloom if he has any creature removal in his deck, or if it's all ramp, and he told me he has it, but he doesn't want to play it against opposition agent. This one is for you, Quorum guy, who knew how to read a field. Also, I've never taken out 2 players with an opposition agent before. Pretty good removal for 3 CMC. Here's the updated deck list. Here are all of my decks. They provide all of their deck lists and rate them between like 6, 7s, and 8s for the most part. Salt score of an 8. Let's go. I'm going to look at this Muldrotha list really quick off of Architect.
While you look up the list, one thing that even before we look at the list and talk through some card selections in it must be said is it kind of doesn't matter what your deck is composed of when the first 4 cards that people see from you are all CDH cards that is going to color their perspective on what you're playing. When you play a fetch land into Underground Sea, a tutor, a Mox Diamond, and an opposition agent, those are all things that, yes, you maybe see sometimes in a casual game, though not very often.
But when you always
see him in a CDH game, then yeah, that's going to color what people's perspectives are for you. If you haven't shown any evidence other than your deck being a CDH deck, it doesn't matter what's in the rest of it because they're going to see a CDH deck.
They also should not have fed the fish that fucking hard, though.
Yeah,
if they were concerned.
But they're not CDH players, so they don't know how to not feed a fish.
I mean, I will say, I'm looking at this list. There are definitely some non-CDH cards in here, but there's a lot of CDH cards in here, man. I mean, you know, this is pre-ban, so there's Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt, but I'm seeing Mox Diamond, Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, Birds of Paradise. I mean, you know, some of these are just regular cards, but again, it's like the build. A lot of like low CMC dorks, a lot of fast mana, Orcish Bowmasters, Op Agent, Fimage, Protean Hulk, Spellskite.
A lot of tutors.
Yeah, a lot of tutors, Sylvan Library, Rhystic, Mystic, Carpet of Flowers. There's some things that aren't fully CDH, but, you know, Vampiric Tutor, Mana Drain, Intuition. It's interesting. It's kind of a list that's on the cusp. Personally, to me, I would look at this and say you're playing some fringe CDH probably.
What's the wackiest card you're seeing in there?
Like the most non-CDH card?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just some classic, like, Muldrotha cards.
Sure.
Seal of Primordium and Seal of Removal, but those are removal pieces that you can recur. So they're still pretty darn powerful. I mean, as far as like creatures and stuff go, Muldrifter is probably the one that is maybe the most casual. Peregrine Drake isn't
It's a combo piece.
Yeah.
but not appearing in tons of CDH lists. Underrealm Lich. I mean, there are definitely some like goofier choices in here, but I think those play more into, not goofy, but there are some non-CDH choices in here that I think play more towards like just a powerful Muldrotha list. But man, between like the mana base and some of the interaction pieces you have here, it's definitely a powerful list. I will note, does not have the interaction suite to ever really be a CDH list in my mind.
Is there Thoracle in there?
No Thoracle.
Can't be CDH then.
I mean, there's
blue and there's no Thoracle.
There's no Demonic Consultation Thoracle. 9 instants and really only 3 counterspells in the whole list. So like it's got a lot of powerful cards, but I don't think it's built to play into a CDH meta.
I think this is the problem with the numeric system, though, because you can look at all those cards. To us, maybe it's very clear that those cards should be more than 1 tick above the 7 that everybody's deck is.
Yeah.
Like if you're packing all of that, you're probably more than that one little step above. And
I agree.
Like, it's really hard to get at that with numeric pieces. And again, I'll emphasize, I said it earlier, but when the only cards you show people are the CDH cards, they have nothing else that's going to revise that impression of their deck. They have no reason to think that it's not a CDH deck if all of the cards that you play are cards that the CDH version of the deck would have exactly played in that order.
Yeah, I mean, that is the opener of a CDH list, like 100%, you know? Like, you can still justify just powerful pieces in your list for being synergistic with Muldrotha. Like, Mox Diamond is very synergistic with Muldrotha because you have to discard a land and you can replay that land on future turns.
Yeah. Same with the Lotus Petal, the LED. Like, those
Mystic
things all
Remora
work.
is the same because when it dies, you can just replay it. Like, that there is synergy there, but like you said, you're showing people a CDH list through your actions. So, okay. So we get to this op agent.
Yeah.
They say, I've never seen an op agent outside of CDH. Thoughts on that?
I can say that I haven't, but like, I don't think that means it's like not allowed.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can play it. And honestly, I think it's way worse in casual.
I agree.
Because like, there's less fetches going. There's way less tutoring happening. Like, I've thought about running it and I'm like, nobody's going to fucking.
Yeah.
I think I maybe have run Op Agent and Aura, like in real solid trash.
I think you did.
I think I've run Opposition Agent. I've definitely seen it in non-CDH piles. I think the piece that stands out to me as being a little bit jarring is the experience as a player of playing 2 lands, turn 3 playing a Nature's Lore, getting Opposition Agented in a casual game.
Yeah.
Like, if you're playing Opposition Agent in casual, sniping ramp with it is like questionable a little bit because you might just want to like save that for like tutors that people are doing, but people might not be running tutors in casual, and at which point it's like, why are you running Opposition Agent?
Yeah.
But that is what you're going to hit in casual.
Yeah. It's
in
like
casual,
lands,
you're going to hit land ramp.
Yeah.
It's the most common tutoring that happens in casual.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because like, as soon as I said that, I was like, I don't see tutoring in casual. And then you said that and I was like, oh, that is the tutoring I see. But I don't even think about it.
Yeah, I don't oppa
that
those
it's
things
just
usually.
Like,
I mean, you
no,
can,
I'm saying
but-
it's that I don't even view that as tutoring. I just view it as like a game action
Yeah.
that people
Yeah.
are just taking in casual because that's just sort of like the vibe.
And they tutored for the Op Agent?
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. They tutor for the op agent on turn 2 with a vampiric tutor. So like, to me, I think that is the thing. I mean, obviously you're only playing signpost CDH cards, and then to tutor up the op agent, I think that's the thing that is like kind of the questionable play here. Like, deck building aside, yes, this is very strong. Yes, this is a fast early setup, and people fed the shit out of your fish, which they did not have to do.
No, they did not.
But again, Fish and Muldrotha, you're going to feed it eventually. It's just a very, very good card for that list. But to tutor up the op agent, that to me feels like, not like twisting the knife, but just sort of like maybe too aggressive for a casual game.
But it is high. It's supposed to be high powered.
It is supposed to be high powered.
And so like to Mike's earlier point of like, if it's a 7 and 9s and 10s are CDH, it's a fucking 8.
Yeah.
But
Dude.
8's got a pretty wide range on it still.
8 is the widest range. I think 8 is the widest range of power in casual EDH, period. Because if everyone's list is a 7, you think of your average list. Some people even say like some precons are 7s these days. So you have everything from like the high point of a strong precon up to like fringy CDH or like just below, like could punch up into fringe CDH. That's your width of power level 8. Like,
It's
that's
like
crazy.
no wonder you're
man.
never like matching up.
Yeah. I think that's a very hard power level to try to play for. And I think you really need to be like, we're accepting of all things here. We're going to play trash magic.
Yeah. We started with this pre-message of like, I don't feel bad about any of this, is what Kyoshi said here, right? I think in terms of the cards you played and the deck that you built, like, yes, you don't need to feel bad about this. Like, joining up for an 8 with the deck that you brought, yep, again, that probably lines up. Where you should reflect a little bit is when half of the game says that what you're doing is not the experience that they were looking for, and they had explicitly said that in the title of the game that they're trying to get you to sign up for. Half of the players in that game are saying that.
Yeah.
You should take that a little bit seriously. You know, you should listen to half of the players at the game, a majority of the non-you players in the game saying, hey, this isn't what we were aiming at. And maybe that doesn't mean that you should not play, but it actually might mean that you shouldn't tutor for the opposition agent, and you should focus on advancing your own game plan and ending sooner than putting like a stacks piece out that's going to ruin everyone else's day. Because as soon as you played something that was interactive with other people before they were ready to be interacted with, that is just like a huge feels bad. It would have been very different if you played like a really strong value piece, even the fish. Like that's a very different experience for the person playing against it. Seeing one player get out ahead really early is much easier to deal with than getting stuffed really early on your own part.
I think this is just kind of story where like the power level system is flawed, you know, and you're never going to communicate everything you need by just being like power level 8s, everybody.
Right.
Take out your power level 8 deck, because different metas are going to have different definitions for that, you know, like our level of trash magic, we wouldn't play as many CDH staples in our high power casual lists because we have them in our CDH lists.
Yeah.
You know,
We're like, let's just play CDH.
Yeah.
It's like where we're at. Yeah.
But there's a lot of players out there that own those cards and don't want to play CDH and want to have like very fast and powerful games in, you know, with more casual win cons and things like that. And they live comfortably at power level 8. I think it's a failing of being like, come on in, power level 8, bust out your 8s. I see that on Spell Table all the time. I see it kind of wherever. And I just don't think that that fully encapsulates the type of experience that you're looking for and the type of decks that apply for that experience.
And that's what I was getting at too, of like, you don't need to feel bad that you had this mismatch of power level with people. But the important piece is when you have these mismatches, you need to be able to talk through that in a way that's productive instead of pointing at the power level and being like, well, we said we were going to do that. It's like, well, but we know that's a flawed system.
Yeah.
So like you can't just point at that and be like, that gave me the leverage to do all of this, because that's just there as a supporting piece. It's not like 100% going to line you up with people. You still want to have that conversation around it.
Yep. How do you guys feel about like the scooping here? Do you think like the scooping is appropriate? Personally, I think it's very hard in online group settings because I think people are, especially with like untrusted games, I think people are a lot more quick to scoop in like spell table games. Granted, this is in a Discord, but I think in spell table settings, people are a lot quicker to scoop through a game and just be like, I don't want to fucking deal with an op agent. You took my turn 3 nature's lore and I can't ramp now.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I'm done.
Well, that's exactly the piece. It's like they're scooping because they're stuffed. They're not scooping because you're playing, like a little bit because they think you're playing something that's too high powered, but like you're playing something too high powered is what stuffed them. And like if they needed that third land off the nature's lore, they're just like shit out of luck for the rest of the game. They're just shortcutting by scooping. They're not rage scooping. They're just scooping because that is the eventual outcome the game would get to. So why not scoop to it?
They're already so far ahead. They don't have answers in their hand, because if they did, would likely just play them. Or if they do have answers, they can't play them because they don't have the resources to do it. So like, why would I sit here for another 5 turns while you do a bunch of shit? Yeah. And like, I just get more annoyed. I'll just go play another game.
And they ask, right? Like, don't you have removal for the op agent? Playing Muldrotha, man. The op agent's coming back. It doesn't matter if they have removal.
I mean, that is really true. That's very true. But they asked the quorum player, like, did you have creature removal? And the quorum player was like, yeah, but I was fine with the op agent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I'll leave this in. There is a comment in this Reddit post. I know we don't read comments often, but there's a comment that says, LOL, Necrobloom player is definitely a turd, but I play with OP regularly, hi Kiyoshi, and homie definitely has a history and is known for playing at a higher power level than other players. Typical, it's not that kind of Eureka deck.
Yeah. Exactly. It gives that energy.
I used to appreciate that extra context from a friend being like, yeah, but you are kind of like that, dude.
It's like when it's a pattern, like there is a point where you got to like self-evaluate a little bit.
Yeah.
To me, it reminds me of Vok and our Discord. I've said this to Vok, so I'm not afraid to say it on the show. But Vok is like classic. Evaluate all of my decks one value lower than what your typical person would. Like got like some fringy, like lots of CH staple lists, and he's like, yeah, it's a 7. I'm like, that is an 8, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just points out how that system is wrong. I don't have to talk that to death, but it just points out how that system is flawed and how if one person has a certain interpretation for a number and another person has a different one, that's not common language anymore. Like it's not common ground to start a game off of.
Yeah. So what do we think about the salt rating then on this one?
Honestly, personally, if I was in a high power casual game, if I was in a trash magic game, I would still get salty over the op agent. I would be accepting because trash magic, as we play it, as we define it, everything goes. It's like no holds barred casual. But I would still be like, man, you played a fucking op agent in your casual list. Like,
Yeah.
wipe the sweat off your brow.
When I see someone, vamp tutor into Mox Diamond into op agent.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's not just the one of those pieces problem. It's the all of those pieces working together to execute a game plan that is like, that's a game plan you would execute in a CDH game.
Yeah, those are the first 3 turns of a CDH list.
Yeah. And maybe you don't have the force of will in hand to back it up, but that's like kind of minor when no one's going to interact with it at that pace because no one can interact with it. It's almost like you just built a CDH deck that is tuned for a high power meta instead of for like a CDH meta. You took out the interaction that protects you from the other CDH decks because you don't need it.
Yeah.
So you get to go even faster into your game plan.
And there's something to be said that if you have so many CDH signposts in a list, variance will dictate that every once in a while, your first 3 or 4 turns are going to be exactly CDH turns.
Yeah.
And like you said, and like we've been saying, when you're at that point, people aren't going to listen to you when you say this isn't a CDH list. It probably isn't. Maybe it plays well in your meta, but every once in a while, you're going to have it where the only thing you're dropping are those CDH signpost cards, and people are going to be like, what the fuck, dude? You just said it wasn't CDH.
Yeah.
So I think that is the thing to be aware of and cautious with. And you can play around that. Like you don't have to tutor for the op agent. You don't even have to cast the tutor that turn. You can play sub efficiently and probably still enjoy the game and you know, maybe not get the salty scoops.
And some players can't play sub efficiently and they need to build inefficiently in that case. Like if you're someone that can't not tutor for that opposition agent, you do need to not put one of those 3 pieces in your deck that's going to make that play possible.
Got to hold yourself back with the deck building stage.
I think if I was in this game and saw that turn 1, even though I play a bunch of CDH, if they were like, well, I don't have the combos, I don't have Thoracle, I don't have this, I don't have the other thing, I think I'm on the side of these people who scooped a little bit where I feel like it looks like CDH to me. See ya.
I mean, it
I'm gonna
does.
go find a new game. It's interesting when you don't see the whole deck list, but you see nothing but CDH cards. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if you've played more games like this and if more people have scooped, because you should know that it is the deck.
Yeah.
And just push it up, baby. Just push it all the way.
Yeah.
Just make it CDH. Or it feels like all he needs to do is add in Thoracle. Like,
honestly, yeah.
Like-
and a better interaction package. I think that's usually where we fall when we see lists like this. We're like, play CDH. You're going to fucking love it. CDH is great. Push this up to CDH. You're going to have a really fun Moldrathus CDH deck. You'll be a little fringy, but it's going to be wicked fun.
yeah.
You're almost already there. You got like 10 card swaps to get it there.
Yeah.
Well, should we delve deeper into the mind?
Yeah, let's do another one. Give me another search term here. Let's
Fish around in this bag real quick, see if I can find
Blue.
blue.
Fuck this.
It's going to be so many for blue. Yeah, I'm just looking in all my mailboxes, and I'm getting a lot of like
Viagra ads.
this little blue pill. It's a lot of like Amazon like Bluetooth things.
Okay, so he said blue, so I'll say 8.
Do I have to search for both of these?
No, blue and then 8th down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because there might just be like a ton of, and 8 was my magic number in first grade.
What does that mean?
Like you can get like a little fucking
No,
like,
what does that
special
mean?
number. I think I was just 8th in the alphabet, but like for in like alphabetical order of my classmates.
Did you have to
but it's
announce
like
you had to count off to 8? Whenever you guys count off.
I just like it was my number. Like whenever we did
What does that
shit.
mean?
When like I feel like anytime we lined up for things,
Like a lucky
anytime
number.
We like
3 was my lucky number.
yeah.
Yeah, but his was assigned to him.
Yeah, mine was assigned to me and it became lucky as a result.
And New Jersey's different.
Yeah. built different. down
Yeah.
there.
Tony chose his name when he turned 18. He said, call me Tony now.
Yeah.
I am no longer 8.
Yeah.
They said
I survived. I made it to 18, so I
number
was
8
allowed
has
to
gained
pick a
free
name.
will.
Yeah.
All right, I got one here. So this one comes to us from our buddy Storm Chicken. And this was submitted on our lovely website, thehowlingsaltmine.com, or howlingsaltmine.com is going to get you there. And this post is titled On the Shores of Salt. And it's a long one, so let's all buckle in. Buckle into the mine cart. Greetings, salty sailors. I recently discovered your show and have become a big fan. I'm currently working through your episode catalog, and they've all been great listens.
Aw.
This story happened last night at my favorite LGS. Because of life stuff, I haven't been able to play EDH for over a month. So when I arrive and I see a pod of 3 still shuffling up, I quickly go over and ask if they want a 4th. They do, so I sit down to join.
Can you imagine if that was a story? They don't, and I leave. Saltier than when I arrived.
Thanks for the great show. Yeah. Storm Chicken. They do, so I sit down to join. The player to my left, who we will call Moby, is someone. Do you think this is Moby Dick, or you like Moby like the musician?
I mean, I went to Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You went there?
Is it because they're a whale?
That's where I went in my mind.
Okay.
Fucking piece of shit.
Who we will call Moby is someone I've played with a few times at this LGS, but don't know personally. The other 2 players I hadn't met before. We will call them Ahab and Jonah. A lot of whales.
So it's definitely referencing Moby Dick.
Yeah, 100%. Surprisingly and pleasantly, Moby remembers a few of my decks from the handful of times we've played. He asks if I have my Vohar deck on me, but I don't. I ask if he's seen my Megatron Tyrant deck before, and he hasn't, so
Cool.
I pull that out. Moby himself is on Yenna Enchantments, Ahab is playing Magar of the Magic Strings, and Jonah is on Ashling from Modern Horizons 3. But really could have been playing anything for the purposes of this story.
Get fucked, 4th player.
Yeah, it sounds like that player gets fucked. The first game starts pretty normally, with each of us doing some combination of ramping and getting our commanders out. On turn 5, I sack a 3-drop with Megatron's tank side to kill one of Moby's dorks and get in with the now flipped robot tyrant, which gives me the mana to cast a Suchi Cave Guard and set up for a huge next turn. This deck tries to win with big X-Pile spells like Crackle with Power, X-Sanguinate, etc. Mike, could you read us Megatron, and could you also read us Suchi?
You know I can read you Megatron. So, Megatron Tyrant is 3, a red, a white, and a black, so 3 in Mardu. For a legendary artifact creature robot, it's a 7/5. Has more than meets the eye for 1, a red, a white, and a black. So it's an alternate casting cost that you can cast the back for. We'll get there in a second. But the front face, the 7/5 face, has your opponents can't cast spells during combat.
Ooh.
So it's kind of like
Marisi,
but just your opponents. You can.
Oh, that's hot.
At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you may convert Megatron. If you do, add a colorless for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn.
Oh, man. That's cool.
So kind of on its face, if you hit someone, you get 7 colorless mana. Like you hit someone, you flip it over, you get 7 colorless mana if you only hit them with Megatron.
Yeah.
The back side, the tank side, as described in the story, that you can pay for 4 mana. It's a 4/5 legendary artifact vehicle. Whenever Megatron attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact. When you do, Megatron deals damage equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value to target creature. If excess damage would be dealt to that creature this way, instead that damage is dealt to that creature's controller, and you convert Megatron. So if you overkill something, you flip it back into that 7/5 side.
Okay. Very, very interesting. It's kind of like a weird, like Marisi Neheb with like artifact sec.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have Suchi Cave Guard right here. It's an artifact creature construct, Vigilance Ward 4, the cursed ward cost that will never be printed again.
Ooh, I love this card though.
When Suchi Cave Guard dies, add 8 colorless mana to your mana pool. Until end of turn, you don't lose the mana as steps and phases end. And it's an 8/8. 8/8 for 8 that dies and makes 8.
I like that.
It's just so goofy. It's like an uncommon.
Yeah.
That's better than
that's wild.
Octavia, it feels.
I mean, probably. Let's keep going. So Moby complains that he's being targeted, saying that I should have killed one of the other player's commanders, which are already on the board. In his defense, he definitely was in 4th here. I argue back that killing his dork was the only way to flip Megatron, since everyone else on the board had 3 or more toughness, and swinging Megatron into his tapped out board guaranteed me the Cave Guard mana. So it was the best play for me. He grumbles, but gets on with his turn, casting his commander in a small enchantment. As fate would have it, Moby's slightly salty critique of my threat assessment would be immediately validated as Ahab spends his turn 5 Magar-ing a relentless assault, making it hasty and unblockable and killing all of us with infinite combats. We're all just kind of stunned, and the game ends with an awkward, oh, okay, cool, congrats, I guess, vibe. Also, Jonah had 2 open mana, but apparently nothing that could kill a 3/3. People don't know what Magar of the Hidden Strings does. It turns sorceries and instants into creatures. It's like an uncommander that's legal. It's a weird one. As we shuffle up for game 2, I pull out my Erebos Bleak-Hearted, Find and Recur Gary deck, and Ahab swaps to Ronus, the Indomitable. Noticing the 3 of us are more monocolor, Jonah asks if Moby has any monocolored decks of his own. Moby doesn't seem super into it, but says, yeah, sure, and pulls out Eluge, the Shoreless Sea, which is one of the new Bloomborough commanders. This is where the salt begins to flow in earnest. Ahab sharply asks, is that a control deck? And complains that mono blue is the scariest of the single colors. Is this you, Tony?
I mean, blue sucks, so.
Moby quickly says he doesn't have any infinites or Thoracle and calls the deck a bunch of random blue stuff I had. They go back and forth for a bit, with Ahab declaring Eluge the biggest threat and Moby complaining that he's being targeted when Ahab hasn't even seen my deck yet. To this, Ahab responds, well, it's unsleeved, so I know it must be bad. I don't know what to say to this. I kind of laugh it off, and Moby finally says, all I have is this or Turgid if we're playing monocolor. So we get started. Yeah, that's a good ultimatum. You don't want to play against Turgid. We all get off to decent starts, but Ahab is clearly hard focusing Moby. He has a Chameleon Colossus, which has pro-black, but continuously sends it at Moby instead of getting free damage on me or holding it back to block my stuff. Jonah is happy to let him do this and points most of his removal at me and Moby, killing Eluge twice and using Ashling's burn trigger to kill my small stuff and chip away at our life totals. He also burns my face a few times, and I'm draining myself as I dig for Gary with Erebos draw triggers. Most of the conversation at the table is the simmering argument between Ahab and Moby about targeting, with Jonah and I really only speaking to declare game actions. After casting Eluge again, Moby sarcastically says that the game is starting to feel like Two-Headed Giant, to which Ahab responds that he was hoping it would feel more like Arch Enemy. At this point, Ahab and I were at 15 life each, and Moby was in the high 20s. Jonah was still at 40. The pasta water reached its boiling point on the following turn. Ahab gets his 8th mana and therefore has a kill on me on the board if he pumps the Colossus twice. Instead, he full swings at Moby. At this, Moby dives deep into the salty seas. He loudly declares that Ahab is king-making for Jonah. The attack put him in the single digits, so he knows he's dead with only a couple of more burn spells. He says that he can king-make too, but he'd rather just get the game over with and cracks an emergence zone to cast a large brain geyser thanks to Eluge targeting Jonah. So Jonah draws a fuck ton of cards. This enrages Ahab, who asks why he would do that. Moby responds, why are you talking?
No.
They bicker some more over what king-making means. Meanwhile, on Jonah's turn, he kills one of my creatures, which allows me to draw with Erebos and find Tragic Slip, which I immediately fire off on Ashling. Moby counters it. This launches yet another argument, and one of Moby's retorts is that he still doesn't understand why he was hunted so obsessively when he's trying to win through Eluge commander damage and hasn't inflicted a single point yet. Ahab responds that he hates decks that slow the game down but still kill via combat damage, and that combo wins are much more pure. This kind of takes me aback, and I ask, wait, you don't like combat damage? You're playing mono green. He ignores the question. Jonah somehow doesn't kill us with his 12-card hand and has to discard. On my turn, I finally find Gary. I put Moby out of his misery, but is too little, too late, and Ahab kills me with the Colossus on his next turn. Moby leaves the table immediately, and as Ahab and Jonah finish up, I decide I don't really want to play another game with Ahab and pack up my stuff too. A bit sad that these were my first 2 games after a month off. There is, however, some sugary light in the eyes of this briny storm. I noticed Moby has sat down with 2 other players, and since I'd only had good experiences with him in previous games, and there were no other open pods, I decided to give him another chance. I asked to join, and as I sit down, it becomes clear that Moby knows both of these players, and they are happy to hear his salty rant about our previous game. While he is happy to have me there to corroborate his account of being harpooned. By the time we finish mulligans, he has calmed down, and we play 2 extremely close, fun games, one of which Moby wins with the same Eluge deck. This ended up being way longer than I thought, but the moral of the story is that sometimes the saltiest seas can give way to the most blissful beaches, and that even combat damage can make EDH players salty. Also, yes, I do play unsleeved. If the deck has no dual face cards, I'm nostalgic for that sweet feeling of card.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. That's why I have a precon I play unsleeved, because it just tickles that little high school part of my brain that was slanging cardboard around, and
Like
I love
the friction, man. Like the friction of the cards. Man, what a wild tale. I think it's so strange. So there's like a couple weird things that happen in here that give me pause. The first one is that everyone is like, we're playing monocolor. We're playing monocolor. Moby, do you have a monocolor list? And he's like, yeah, I don't really want to play a monocolor list, but I will. I have this Eluge list. And immediately Ahab is like, is that a control list? That's bullshit. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys asked him to play that list.
Yeah, this is what you wanted.
Yeah, you wanted the monocolor. Like, could just let it play a different deck. Like you were like, well, if we have to play monocolor, it's either going to be this or Turgid.
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
think that's the funniest thing too. It's just like, well, I could play Turgid.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, so we played.
But like, couldn't he have also just played that fucking list he played in the first game?
Yeah.
You know? That's the thing that bugs me so much. It's like, why were you so intense on this dude to play this thing when he could have just played the Yenna enchantments list?
I feel like there's a little bit though of that happens. People will be like, "Oh, I'm playing a monocolor. You're playing monocolor. Oh, come on, play a monocolor. Oh, but you're gonna play that. Like, don't play that. Like, you got another one." And then, like, you want it to be the right vibe, you know. And so I can understand being in the moment, being like, we want everyone to play it, and then when it's not exactly what they want, it's like, well, this is what they have, so you got to accept that if you're going to push this like framework on them. So I don't think it's that crazy that happened, but then you gotta like suck it up. Like that's what they got. Like, you don't get a choice there.
Yeah,
it's like this is what it is.
You can't be like, no, you have to play monocolored, and then be like, blue's the strongest monocolored. Fuck you, turn 0. I'm targeting you. Personally,
that's like crazy.
If I was Moby, I would have been like, then I'm not going to play this list.
Yeah.
If the choices are I play monocolor and you target me the whole game, or I just play another list and we're not all playing monocolor lists, then I'm going to play another list.
Yeah.
Like, why sign up for a very unpleasant game with a list that he clearly doesn't want to play?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That makes me so mad. This gets me salty, dude.
Yeah.
Ahab's like, is that a control deck? And Moby's like, hey, it doesn't have any infinites or Thoracle. It's just a bunch of random blue shit. And then later on, Ahab is like, I prefer to play against combos versus decks that control and win with combat damage. What are you talking about?
No, I do think I get that. Like, if you're going to control and slow down the game, win by combo instead of controlling and slowing down the game and then winning through even slower combat damage. I get that. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it, but I get how that could be a position that you take.
I get the logic there, but it's like, why wouldn't you say that at the beginning when they were like, caveats, I don't run any combos. And it's mono, you know,
because they don't actually have those opinions. They're just upset.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. This player works themselves up
man.
about a mono blue deck. They got all hot and bothered about blue.
Sucks. Blue's a trash card for trash players. That guy's right.
Blue's fine, man. You play blue.
I'm gonna play blue. I'm gonna play that fucking mill commander from Duskmourn. If I ever play another
Mindskinner
deck,
that'll
be what it is.
I get really salty with players that can't adapt to new information. Like, you can go into this game thinking mono blue is the strongest color, but then when you're in the middle of the game and that player's at 6 life and the other player's at 40, that's new information. You should revise your opinion about how the game is going and threat assess that way.
Yeah, some targeting priorities should be assessed in that moment.
Yeah.
And like, let me just read Eluge, the Shoreless Sea, for a minute. It costs 1, 3 blue, legendary creature, elemental fish. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of islands you control. When Eluge enters or attacks, put a flood counter on target land. It is an island in addition to its other types, as long as it has a flood counter on it. And then the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn costs a blue or a colorless less to cast for each land you control with a flood counter on it. It's instant and sorcery reduction, and it's power and toughness scaling with the number of islands that you have, but it's a slow strategy. Eluge comes down and is maybe a 4/4 on turn 4 or a 3/3 on turn 3 when it comes down. And then you are getting 1 to, incremental mana reduction every single turn that you're able to successfully attack. This is a fairly slow list. I don't look at this list and say, like, this is super powerful. I say, you're probably going to play some expensive instants and sorceries with that cost reduction, but I'm not really worried about like the combat damage aspect of it. I don't know. I just think this person's compass was way off with this being like a threatening deck.
Yeah, but I guess maybe the flip is it's such a back and forth of sometimes you can trust people and sometimes you can't. When they're like, I've got this deck, like I don't have any of that like I don't have a ton of counter spell magic. I'm not going to counter you guys.
Yeah.
Because there's just too much out in the wild where somebody says they're not going to do that and they fucking do that.
That's true.
To your point, Mike, they got into the game and it wasn't happening. So eventually you have to be like, okay, this isn't that deck.
Yeah. This isn't a problem.
Yeah.
The deck has been fine.
And move on.
Who won that first game?
The first game was won by the person playing the Magar deck.
And that was not Moby, right? That was Ahab. Or was that Jonah?
Yeah, the first game was won by Ahab with an infinite combo.
Yeah.
On turn 5.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, man.
Seems like they just hate getting interacted with because they like getting turn 5 speedy wins.
Yeah, they probably just don't like counterspells for the same reason that Tony doesn't.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah, exactly. They suck at playing Magic. I agree.
You're mean.
No, they're probably just because they're special boys.
That's better.
Ahab was probably too handsome to play against that blue deck. You know?
Probably, yeah. That must have been it.
Yeah.
All right, now we're speaking about it.
Yep.
What do we think about the Sol rating here on this one?
Dude, I would be rip shit. If a random person at an LGS is targeting me relentlessly and not like pivoting based on known information, like Mike is saying, what am I doing? Why am I in this pod, man? Why am I wasting the time? Like, at that point, I hope they do just knock me out so I can go fuck off and do something else, you know? It's just so frustrating. Like, this story really gets me salty, man. Somebody coming at you that hard, not relenting, focusing you down in spite of other players doing powerful things. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, what is the thought process?
For you in particular, though, I think you also really hate being pressured into picking a deck. That's like a characteristic of you, and so I think that's also adding to like your, your feelings here. Because
like, don't make me pick a deck and then complain that I'm fucking playing it. That bugs me so much, man. Like, oh, can you play this? Oh, why are you playing that? Like, you fucking told me, you stupid idiot.
Don't make me pick a deck and then fuck up the combo and make me lose.
There's just so many things that make me mad about this.
Yeah, this is ticking a lot of Sam's no-nos.
Yeah, like what this fucking Ahab clown, dude. Like, get out of here. Fucking so dumb, dude. And I get not liking certain colors. You know, I know we joke a lot about like blue being a trash color and shit, but like, I don't know, fucking suck it up. Like,
people are gonna play it. It's in the format.
Yeah, it's a fifth of the whole fucking format. Like, suck it up. Learn how to play into it, man. You don't like control decks? That sucks. There's control decks, there's aggro decks, and then there's the other one. Like, there's fucking 3 major archetypes. What do you want to play rock, paper, scissors and be like, well, only rock and paper, no scissors? Like, give me a break, man.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it'd be no paper, not.
I guess so. Is paper control smothering? Maybe. Yeah. What do you guys think about this? I've talked enough. I've gotten my salt out.
It would really bug me, especially when the player that wins goes in. Like,
yes.
I talk about not having like game memory and like trying to leave, you know, the previous game behind you. The one part that I do think is like totally legit when you're moving between games is if you won the last game, just fucking take the next one off. Like, I think my win rate after winning a game in the next game goes down probably 10%. Like, I'm way less likely to give a shit about game 2 if I just won game 1.
Like 10% isn't that much of a change, but
I know, but like 25% to 15%. That's like a pretty big gap.
You were already more at like, what was it like? I don't know, 5 or 6%. So you're gonna go to negative percentages.
Mike is staring daggers at Tony.
Fucking asshole.
I mean, I don't think you have to take the game off, but don't come in
not
hot.
Actually take the game off,
Don't come in hot complaining turn 1 when you just won the game.
Right. Let your blood settle a little for the game 2. Like, the stakes are a lot lower if you just took a dub. You don't need to be super worried about what someone else is going to do.
Yeah, man. You don't need to be that salty when you just fucking won the game. Like, chill. I don't know. It's like when people win the game and they still complain about the game. It's like, you won, dude.
My God.
You won.
Yeah, it is.
You won the game. Don't complain about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that shit just bugs me, man. That's a fucking salty one.
Should we do another one?
Yeah, let's do another story, Tony. Great idea.
Thank you.
Hit me with another term. Let's rip it.
Rip?
Rip. Okay. I got a good one right here. This one comes to us from one of our patrons, Swankub, and actually a good friend of mine. And this post is titled, Almost Getting Fucked by the Fourth Player. Heyo. Heyo. Hey, Sam, Mike, and Tony, and of course, Nick and Pat, too. Bo here, a.k.a. Swankub. First off, I love what you've done with the place. The mine looks great. To set this,
Can I say the curtains? Great addition.
Yeah, there's a lot of curtains. I hope everyone likes the curtains. There's a room full of them. To set the stage, B, a.k.a. Ironleaf, another one of our patrons, and I spent the day at a local game shop ripping games, and it was awesome. Mean Gene, another one of our patrons, stopped in for the 5th game, which was our second to last. The day was spent with several randos that we met for the first time. One we'll call UB because of his self-imposed deck limitations. They were that he could only have cards from Universes Beyond sets, and he had an impressive sampling of decks.
I already hate this person.
The other player we'll call Oblivious Salt because he excitedly rule zeroed 5 games with 5 different versions of the saltiest decks imaginable, but did not seem to understand why we targeted him all day. For perspective, his final deck was Turgid, God of Fright. But don't worry, he stated, it wasn't that Turgid. I bet you're thinking that the salt crystal grew from Oblivious Salt, and I would continue to describe how badly the air tasted of salt around him. But no, this was just a sample packet of what was yet to come. We all had a great time, and the games went smoothly, but Oblivious Salt had to head home after losing the last game with Turgid. Once he left, we said our goodbyes, and we all took a sip of water to rinse the salty taste from our mouths. A hand that went up by UB, the now infamous words of, "We need a 4th player," were shouted out. A happy-go-lucky dude popped out of the salt dust cloud that Oblivious Salt left in his wake. "Hey guys," he said. We all looked at him and then looked at each other and gave the accepting nods necessary for a combined acknowledgement of Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky. Rule 0 was be on Dalsim.
Wait, I need to I'm like there with the boys at the table. We like summon someone over. Then we actively all look at each other and are like, yes, that'll do. This one will do. And then like that person is just watching.
Yeah.
What was the head shake gonna look like?
No, not you.
Yeah, you seem too
Not
joyful, and we just played against Turgid, so we're gonna need
I
someone
don't really
else.
want to play against you. Rule 0 was me on Dalsim, Pliable Pacifist. Ironleaf was on Min, Wily Illusionist. UB was on Myram, Sentinel Worm. Happy-Go-Lucky was on Numot, the Devastator. Ironleaf asked, what does he do again? And Happy-Go-Lucky whimsically reads the card. My response was, land destruction? And his response was, oh no, I just have it for the colors. It's in the card, but I don't really do it. And we all shrug and roll for turn. Pause. Numot, the Devastator costs 3, a red, a white, and a blue. Legendary creature dragon. Flying. Whenever Numot the Devastator deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2 and a red. If you do, destroy up to 2 target lands, and it's a 6/6. I thought this was an Elder Dragon.
Yeah, I thought so too. I literally scrolled down to check the typing in the Oracle text. And it's not.
I'm surprised. Yeah, not an Elder Dragon, just a regular.
It's very Elder Dragon coded though, of like this 3 mana activated ability that, or activated ability that hits
like
on trigger.
Harvester, Devastator, or something like that. There's a few that are in like this cycle of dragons that do similar effects for similar, well, not similar effects, but like pay 3 mana, do the thing.
Yeah, but they're not elders.
Yeah,
they're just
correct.
like, hey, we're kind of young.
Yeah, we're just dragons.
Like literally.
Yeah. Dragon these Numots across your Devastator.
Yeah, there you go.
Happy-Go-Lucky did adopt his role quickly as the 4th player, as we watched him just take hit after hit with no blockers or game actions. It was simply play a land and pass turn. The game closed out at around turn 9 with Ironleaf psychosis crawling all over us after he cast Roaming Throne and named Horrors, followed by a Tolarian Wind with a grip of 20 cards. After the game, we exchanged pleasantries and then looked at Happy-Go-Lucky and we were like, dude, sorry your deck didn't get going. Happy-Go-Lucky just snickered like a villain. As if he were wearing glasses, he would have taken that moment to push them up his nose. He proclaimed, if Min didn't win that turn, I would have played these cards in my hand. He proceeds to show us Boom/Bust and some white card that I didn't catch the name of. Based on those 2 cards, he would have locked the game up for 2 hours. I was internally furious, thinking how Oblivious Salt at least told us the truth all day. The fact that Happy-Go-Lucky didn't take part in the game should have given me solace, but I'm just hung up on his disingenuous nature. So I will take Sam's advice, and I will stay salty and proudly proclaim get fucked 4th player, Swankub, out. What is boom bust?
I think it's just a board wipe.
Oh,
I got
it. Yeah. Boom is 1 in a red, destroy target land you control and target land you don't control. Bust is 5 in a red, destroy all lands.
Oh my God.
I wonder if the white card was Faith's reward
Oh, to bring them all back.
to bring them all back.
I think it's rare that we get salt that happens at the end of the game.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
post-game
Yeah,
discussion,
in
we're
the
such
post game.
proponents of that being something to mitigate salt, but this post-game discussion
created
led to
it,
salt.
yeah.
Salt that did not come to pass, which is very interesting.
Yeah. I honestly, I think I would have been fucking pissed about it too. Like if I
Dude,
saw it, and
yes.
you remember, I've been like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah.
Especially the fact that Swankub was like, oh, Numot the Devastator, land destruction? And he's like, nah, it's just there for colors.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it was land destruction, though.
Well, it's because the colors are the colors of land destruction.
Yeah. I don't use Numot to destroy your lands.
I just use all these other fun things.
Yeah, but I do use other cards to destroy your lands.
God, fuck that shit.
Yeah, that's whack, man. At least the other person was like upfront about their salt, you know? Like I'm super down to play against a salty deck as long as I know it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, Pat does that to us all the time. Whenever we jam games with Pat, he'll be like, I have this list and it's got some fucking
And it's
heat
send
in it.
triplets.
Yeah,
We're like, all right, I'll handle that for one game.
Yeah, I'll play one Send Triplets game for
Yeah.
sure. And then afterwards, I'm like, Pat, you got to play something else.
Yeah, I don't like lying. So I don't like this player that like lied about
Yeah.
what they were going to do.
Have you guys had this happen though, where a game ended and afterwards you were salty as a result of like a post game discussion type thing?
I think the closest for me is like when people have been like, oh, I did have this in hand that could have dealt with the threat. And I'm like, well, why didn't you play it? And usually the answer is like, well, felt like the game was over anyway, or like I didn't want to drag things along.
Yeah.
And at least usually like the reasoning is something I can understand. But I do get a little bit annoyed when someone was like, oh, I just gave up and didn't play this interaction that I had despite it stopping the win that happened. Those games, I'm like, really? Like you could have tried to stop it, but
Yeah, I get that. I think that's a really good example. But that can go both ways. Like sometimes when the game ends and someone has like a counterspell in hand,
Yeah.
I would prefer that they just didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to know. But sometimes a game will end and someone will be like, yeah, I had a board wipe in hand. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that was a 2-hour game and
Good call.
You're the winner.
Yeah.
You're the real winner. of
You're the
game.
real winner right now.
Yeah. That was the honorable path to be like, I will
Sometimes
lose.
those people play them.
yeah, sometimes less recently.
Yeah. That's true. But we also
Because there's
have
no
a
board
flavor
wipes in CDH.
switch. There's some.
There's a couple. There's a couple.
There's
I'm
some.
running Eat the Ass Meat in Lotho.
Nice.
Yum yum.
Did you Google that?
Don't Google eat the ass. Only Scryfall.
Only Scryfall that one,
Only
please.
Scryfall it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will get something else, I am sure. Yeah, man, the dishonesty. Honestly,
Honestly,
I
it's the
think-
dishonesty that I don't like.
true. Honestly, one of the things that I wish we got to hear more on is
UB guy.
UB guy. I was waiting for UB guy to have like some salty deck. I want to know what those decks are. I think that's interesting. It's funny because like some players play specifically to never play those
Yeah.
cards. So it's interesting to have someone be like, these are only the decks I like. That's kind of respectable. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm not crazy about
vibe.
UB stuff, but I dig that.
Yeah, take your stand.
Exactly. Do it.
What do we think about the salt rating here on this one?
Well, I don't think it's as salty as it could be.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
one of those things where I'm trying to think of like a good food salt analogy, and I don't have one. I don't know. It's just one of those things that like in hindsight, you're like, man, it could have been so much worse. Like how salty can a game be if you didn't actually experience the full salt? Like you didn't get your lands blown.
Yeah. It's like you were munching on the bag of chips and like you ate the whole thing and you're
Here
like,
it comes.
"Oh, pretty good.
Here
and
it
then
is,
you
folks.
peek in the bottom and there's like the dust and you're like, whew, I'm glad I didn't like throw that back.
But then you throw back the
Yeah.
dust.
Then you throw back the dust.
I always throw back the dust.
Oh, dude.
I do always throw
I always
back
go
the
for
dust.
the
And I'm always like, ooh, too much of that.
So, is it that time of the week, Sam?
Tony, I think it is that time of the week.
Oh, but baby, what time is it?
It's the time of the week that comes every week.
Every motherfucking week, baby.
It's the time of the week where we say, Mike,
Mike.
Yeah.
what's the salty card of the week?
The salty card of the week this week is
Prison gates won't open up for me.
Look, you came in hot.
what?
You have to come in hot for Nickelback, dude. Make me salty, and I'll leave this life behind me. Make me salty, salty, make me. That's a pretty good one, huh? Like that. Sometimes you just got to bust them out.
I mean, it's so different seeing it, getting it here in the flesh. I like it.
And that was Saving Me or Saltin' Me. I picked Make Me Salty, a little bit of a different meter there. And this is a request from our patron Cups. And they say, who doesn't love a little bit of Nickelback, even though you say you don't, you deeply do. And that's Saving Me by Nickelback, which is true, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad Nickelback songs, but I think everybody has their price with Nickelback. There's at least one that you're like, yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, thanks, Sam.
Oh,
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you,
thank you, Sam.
I think I was saying song.
I think you were.
Thank you, song. That was a lovely salty Sam of the week. The salty card of the week this week is Tanglewire.
Oh, Tanglewire.
Oh, Tanglewire. Tanglewire. It's a 3-mana artifact with fading 4. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player taps an untapped artifact, creature, or land he or she controls for each fade counter on Tanglewire. So fading, it comes in with that number of counters, so in this case 4, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you remove a fade counter from it, and if you can't, you sacrifice it.
Yep.
Does this card make you salty, Tony?
Yes. Well, you pointed to me, but the people don't
So it's an
know.
audio podcast.
I assume they'd guess once
If you
someone
don't say
started
my
talking.
name, I will not give my opinion.
Okay.
But
Does anyone want to volunteer their opinion?
dude, fuck Tanglewire. I hate this card. It is annoying enough. You know,
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing on the planet, but this doesn't come down when I've got like a bunch of other shit to tap. Like this comes down on turn like 2 or 3 in a CDH game when I have like exactly enough permanents to like, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'm fucking tapping everything.
Yeah.
I do like it when somebody else removes it and I get to fucking pop the fuck off
Yeah.
as a result.
Yeah.
With no protection from the blue player at the table.
Who had to tap out, yeah.
Well,
I like that.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I've ever liked it, and that only happened once.
How about you, Sam? How do you feel about Tanglewire?
I feel conflicted on Tanglewire because I used to play it in my Metapod list, my Blood Pod list.
Metapod.
And I liked it. I mean, it's good, but it's really good at Magda. And, you know, there's that time where I played it against Covert Go Blue, and that was...
I thought that was
pretty-
Storm of Amethyst.
No, it started with
It
Tangle.
started with a Thorn of Amethyst, and then I played a Tanglewire or something like that. I don't know if it was Thorn, but yeah, I mean, it's really, really good. And certain decks make incredible use of it. It does get me salty when people remove it, though, because it like opens up the next player.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things where you either have to wait it out or someone has to jump on the grenade to remove it, but it always feels bad. Like, it's just one of those cards that one person is going to be able to play through it, or they're fine not getting the value, and then other people are going to suffer through it and kind of get antsy and want to remove it.
Yeah.
That is the hard piece. Like, knowing when to remove it is hard.
Yeah. There's just no good point, really.
There kind of isn't. You almost have to just wait.
And it is interesting because it's time limited. It's fading.
I
you
know. That's the other thing is it's like, well, should I just wait it out?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting card. I mean, I don't play it in any lists anymore. I'm a little bit off of my stacks life from yesteryear. So I think it would make me salty, but I also generally play lists that I think can play through it fine these days. Even like an early one, I don't know if that would be that horrible. I don't think it sees as much play anymore as like a broad stacks piece like it used to. Now it's like, are you on Magda? Then you're going to play it. Tim Natana probably still plays it too. That's really probably the only places you're seeing it. I don't know. How do you feel about this one, Mike?
I mean, I like it because I play Magda, but I do also agree that it the frustrating part about this card is that often people haven't seen it very much and they interact with it in like a really weird way. And it ends up putting you in a place where like someone gets an advantage that you don't think should be getting an advantage off of it. But I do want to highlight something about it that's not like super obvious on the face of this card, because it looks like a very symmetrical card. Everybody does this on all of their upkeeps. That seems fair. Everyone untaps the same amount or taps the same amount of stuff.
Yes.
But it's not. This is very far from symmetrical. On first rotation, everybody else has to tap 4 things because you have fading 4 on it. So there's 4 counters on it.
Yep.
It gets to your turn. You remove a counter. You already only have to tap 3 things, but you also have Tangle Wire itself.
Yes.
So that's one of the things you're going to tap. So everyone else's experience on first rotation of this card is they tap 4 things. Your experience on first rotation of this card is you tap 2 things for it.
Yeah.
2 other things beyond the card. So it in itself like breaks parity pretty well. It looks like something that's pretty symmetrical when it comes down, but really you do get the advantage by being the person that played it. You did have to pay 3 mana in order for that to happen. So like you know, it's expensive,
But it's like good.
but it is
It's a
pretty good.
crippling effect to everybody else.
Yeah. And obviously it plays nicely with Magda, where when you tap your dwarves with it, you still get the treasures, so you're still netting stuff, and it's like way easier. Or you can tap treasures that you have to pay the cost and not sacrifice them, and it really kind of has this extra function in that deck. But I do think it's something that gets people grumpy, and I think it's something that has like seen occasional play in other formats in like a super abusive, slowing way. I don't know a lot about that, but I do think it's seen things in other places. So
I think another issue with this card is that like it is very common to play it and fuck over 2 other players and not another.
right, one player got it far enough ahead that they have enough stuff to tap.
Like one player has like 3 creatures out along with a couple lands, and they're just like, all right, well, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a little bit slower, but it's not horrible. So it's kind of like a weird piece where you really want to be dropping it when the symmetrical effect is like maximized. Like everybody is tapping down to nothing and feeling the burn of it. But you can't always do that. So late game, it becomes incredibly dead in your hand. And really late game, it truly is dead because everyone has such established boards. It's like, well, why would I ever play a Tangle Wire now?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I'd probably have more salt for getting it in my hand.
Yeah.
If it was past turn 3 or probably even just 3. Yeah. Like past that point, there is no point.
Yeah.
There is no spoon, you know?
Yeah. Usually somebody can push their way past it, you know, with some kind of board structure.
Yeah.
We have talked about this almost exclusively in the CDH context.
Yeah.
We do pretty much only see it there. So, you know, if
playing
you're
in
seeing this in
casual,
casual, I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt.
I don't wanna
Maybe
fucking
you're
see it
seeing
there.
it in casual lists that can, again, break that parity on it. Maybe you can do stuff with like an elf deck that gets enough shit on the board early enough that you can abuse it. But
Or you have like untapped.
You're running
good.
fucking elf ball and you throw this in there. I hate you even more.
yeah, but like kind of a good idea.
I mean, it kind of is interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are like casual applications. I just don't think they're as like, I don't know.
in your fading kindred deck.
Yeah, you could also like have proliferate in your list and, you know, just like proliferate things up. And so people are really, really getting tapped.
Blink it on your end step and
Yep.
blink it on your upkeep and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's different things that you could do, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird card.
So where do you guys think it falls on the top 300 cards? Take your guesses, listener at home. Get out your papyrus and your stylus. Dip it into that inkwell.
Get out your pappy and your styrie.
Yeah. Calligraph the number that you think it
Use
is.
your Palm Pilot.
Use your Palm Pilot.
I'm ready. Are you ready, Tony?
I am.
What do you got?
115, baby.
121.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man.
Interesting.
Same neighborhood.
Nah, we're in the same neighborhood, but he's going to be like, it was like 275.
You dumb
Get
idiots.
fucked.
It is 278.
Is it really?
so Sam does.
I think I take it because I just guessed where it actually was.
If you had
almost on the
guessed
dot.
that, it would
I
have
don't
helped.
know, man. You can only vote once, so
Damn.
I mean, I accept this victory. It was hard won. It involved a lot of knowledge of the rules and the knowledge of the game. And thank my family, my friends, my loved ones, everyone that supported me to get here to this point.
Literally no one. No one left.
Oh, real quick, but before we wrap up the salty card of the week, What commanders are playing this? I'm really curious if this is seeing play outside of CDH. Like, I feel like we're going to see it in Magda, but what other commanders are playing Tangle Wire?
We got Magda as number 1.
Okay.
And then, do you want to take some guesses at some of the other things on there?
Is Timnatana on there or Tana lists?
I don't see Timnatana on there.
Okay.
Zyrus, maybe, just because you poop out. I'm just trying to think of things
Zyrus.
that have like a bunch.
Yeah, what makes a bunch of...
Oh, Timnatana is on there. It's in like the top 10 or so.
What else? Hit us with number 2.
We've got actually Tevish, Zat, and Rograk. I guess by getting Rograk out, you can abuse it pretty well because you've got that free thing to tap.
And Tevesh
is making little tokens you can use to tap. We got it in Slicer, which I'm assuming is just in CDH. You jam Slicer and then jam Tangle Wire down after, and then no one can do enough to catch up for it.
And then you stack the triggers
so they tap everything first, and then they get Slicer.
That's mean.
You can see people will see it in Oswald, which makes sense. You play it goes around a turn rotation, and then you sacrifice it
away.
off. Similar for Duretti, similar for Maria, where you're getting this like side value out of having an artifact in play. Brago, because you can blink it and annoy everyone. Yorn, God of Winter, because you can untap stuff and kind of play out from under it.
Your snow permanent.
So it's a bunch of stuff that can kind of abuse that asymmetry piece of it that we were talking about.
Definitely CDH heavy though.
Yeah,
those
definitely
are like
mostly CDH.
Mostly CDH lists or fringe lists. So interesting. Well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah. That wraps it up for the Salty Card of the Week.
Appreciate that. And thank you to all the prospectors out there for tuning in to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine. You know we got to shout them out, our Salt Packet Plus tier members. And this week we have Thoughtmas Prime, Rothbox, Sire Speedy, Bobo Fett, Brandon Mousecop, Chameleon, Brimstone, Captain Croz, Elgo Fogel, Clearbrook, D. Beeson, Gilgamesh, Doug's Dad, Bark Bark, Ebes, JS Evolved, Kylock, Pez, Swankub, our buddy from the story, The Quiet One, and Vok. Thank you all for supporting, and thank you to all the prospectors that tune into the Howling Salt Mine every single week and hang out with us in the mines. If you're looking for more Howling Salt Mine content, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Howling Salt Mine. You're going to find our extra salts on there, our stray grains, our off the rails show. You can hang out with us in the Discord, hang out with us at the monthly Patreon game nights, deck build, look at spoilers, talk about things happening in the community. It's just a great time. If you want to be a part of that Howling Salt Mine community, that is where you do it. Another way you can support the show is to send us your salty stories. You know, we always need them, always looking for more. Send them to our Gmail at thehowlingsaltmine@gmail.com, or you can submit them on our website, which is thehowlingsaltmine.com or howlingsaltmine.com. Both are going to get you there. We have a form on there that you can fill out and easily submit those stories to us. Another way you can support the show is to support us on Bonfire, Jank Mats, or our own website to get any of our merchandise, either our t-shirts, our playmats, or our custom Dragon Shield sleeves that we sell. Another way that you can support the show is to give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app of choice, whether that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever, or you can subscribe to us on YouTube because we have a YouTube presence now. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to comment on it or anything like that, YouTube is your place for that now. Be nice to us. And lastly, you know, we got to shout him out, our buddy Devin Burnett. If you're ever in Asheville, North Carolina, hit him up and get a tattoo. He's a really cool guy.
10,000 subscribers are bust.
Indeed. Well, thanks again, everybody. And as always, stay salty and don't forget to draw an additional card during your draw step.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
And we're going to talk about them all. And on this, oh my God. Fuck.
Shit. He's talking.
Words. Well, should we jump on in? I got a bunch of salty stories here in my little mailbag. And we can, what?
You want me
What's
to
so
read?
funny about that, Mike?
I thought you were about to say it again.
What do you think I was about to say?
Reach around and grab something out of our mailbag. I'm sorry.
I mean, I was about to be like, should I reach into your mailbag and grab something for you? But
People say reach around without it being a sexual context. Now I have to leave this in.
No, you don't. It can be a blooper.
At least this
Fine.
part has to stay in.
yeah.
Blooper, it'll be fine.
All right, I'm gonna.
It's a 75. That's a 7.5.
Do that. Give us that again. Read that again.